found a seat, so I think we're ready to get started. Welcome everybody to the Meet the Candidates Forum for the City Council election for Niagara Falls. My name is Corey Bauer. I'll be your moderator today. I'm Assistant Professor of Leadership and Policy at Niagara University. I just started there last year, just moved to the area. So I'm about as impartial as you can come because I've never met any of these people in my life and really know pretty much nothing about them. So no hidden agenda here. Just want to let everyone get to know you. So I work with the PhD program at Niagara, good program worth checking out. My research interests are in public policy and poverty and education. And our 6 candidates tonight, we have, starting from my right to left, your left to right, we have Sam Fuchone, Kristen Grandinetti, Vince Sandinato, Andrew Tuma, Russell Vesci, and Charles Walker. So this is the format for tonight. Because we have 6 people, it might take a little bit too long if we ask one question and let everybody answer it. So we're going to kind of divide up into 2 teams of 3. So we're going to start with everyone's going to have 3 minutes to introduce yourself. And then we're going to move into kind of a lightning round, some quick questions. So we'll let no more than 30 seconds max. It'll be very short questions. And we'll let everyone get a turn to go first, so we'll have 6 of those. And then we'll divide into our teams, and we'll have 6 longer response questions. So the first 3 people here, we'll start with Mr. Fuchone here, and the person to whom the question is directed will get 2 minutes to respond, and then the 2 persons sitting next to him or her will get 1 minute each to respond. So 6 questions like that, everyone will get to go first once and respond twice. And then we'll conclude with everyone will have 3 minutes to then offer concluding thoughts on the debate. Okay, so we'll start with introductions. We'll start right here with Mr. Fuchone, and we'll move down the table. And then for conclusions, we'll go the opposite way, and we'll start with Mr. Walker at the end of the table. All right, so 3 minutes. Mr. Fuchone.
Good evening. My name is Sam Fuchone. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Niagara Falls. I attended 93rd Street School here in LaSalle area and graduated from LaSalle Senior High School in 1984. I graduated from Buffalo State College with a master's degree in education. Currently teaching at Harry F. Abbott Elementary School for approximately 22 years. I've also been married for 22 years and I have 2 daughters. As a councilman, I've served on the Niagara Falls City Council for approximately 8 years, served 4 years as the Niagara Falls City Council chairman. During my tenure as chairman, there was never a tax increase. Several ordinances were rewritten under my name, such as the sign ordinance, the landlord licensing ordinance, the public nuisance ordinance, and several other business-friendly ordinances. Also, during my time, we imposed several spending freezes on the administration to keep spending in check and in line. I'm asking for your votes this November. I'm running on the conservative and independence lines. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Kristen Grandinetti, and I too am a lifelong resident of the city of Niagara Falls. I attended local schools, Sacred Heart, Madonna, and eventually I obtained my teaching degree from Buffalo State College, and I attended Niagara University where I obtained both my master's degrees. My priorities are clear and straightforward: safer streets, increased home ownership, and business development. But anyone can say that. The difference between lip service and leadership is in the details. Only tax-based growth, both home and business, and population stabilization can accomplish these goals. I have made decisions and will continue to make decisions based on that reality. I advocate for economic development, projects including hotels, because they produce new property and bed taxes while creating construction and long-term jobs. Every new tax dollar that they generate can be one less that our current homeowners are paying. Development projects put our people to work and help pay for the city services that can make our city streets safer. I support initiatives like the Isaiah 61 project because they convert city-owned vacant houses into trades, training sites, then home ownership opportunities. I oppose salary increases for the city administrator and department heads this year, as I did last year, because we need to be fiscally conservative. I want to make that clear, because the Niagara County Independence Party and State Republican Party have blatantly lied about that topic in recent mailers. I stand with the block clubs and the Niagara Beautification Commission because the people who live and volunteer in our neighborhoods every day, year after year, know what we need to invest in. They are our eyes and ears on the street. I support home ownership auctions, neighborhood-based housing developments, and targeted demolitions because if we want to improve, we need to actually have a strategy block by block. I support aggressive grant writing to help pay for police, fire, and economic development initiatives. Going after competitive money is just common sense and is worth city investment. I think attracting young people to move here and stay here makes sense. If we want to create and keep jobs, we need to stop population loss. Jobs go where the people are. I am and will always be an advocate for women and children. It's just part of me. As an educator in our inner city, I see everyday inequalities and struggles. Whenever I can, I will speak up for the actual needs of our constituents that often do not have a voice, even if it draws criticism. I support growth for all of those reasons and many more. You can't fit all of that on a political mailer, but that's who I am. The voters showed us that they are tired of all the negativity, obstructionists, and big party politics. We need to move forward and build that up. That is why I am running for re-election, and I am hoping to have your support on November 5th.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Vince Sandinato. I'm 27 years old, third-year law student at the University of Buffalo. I was born and raised in LaSalle, 91st Street. I was a former county legislator. I resigned. I went to law school, and I've come back to serve on the city council with the intent of providing policy and ideas that not only solve problems, but they initiate population growth, job growth, and a more focused approach to taxpayers in the city of Niagara Falls. I'm endorsed by the Republican, Independent, Conservative, Working Family, and Green parties. I have 5 endorsements. I'm the only candidate to hold such. My approach to the city council race is always and will be a positive approach, willingness to work with anybody, and open to any idea and solution. I refuse to join any type of political bloc to avoid any political gridlock. I think it's unproductive. I think it cuts off communication, and essentially the people of Niagara Falls deserve a little bit more. So I've decided to throw my hat in this ring for city council, and I look forward to introducing my ideas. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andy Tuma, and I'm a newcomer. This is the first time running for a political office, and I'm proud of that. I felt that there was a need to jump into this political race to become a council member. And I also am a lifelong resident and Democrat. Born in LaSalle, now I reside in DeVoe with my wife Jocelyn and my 4 boys. I am a public servant. I've been a public servant for 20 years as a school teacher, and I'm heavily involved in the community. I am on the board of directors of the Niagara Wave Greater Niagara and heavily involved in my parish. As an educator, I've had to make a lot of decisions, and problem solving is something we do each and every day. And those are 2 important leadership skills that are needed for council members. I've been endorsed by the Democratic Party, Working Families Party, Niagara County Buildings and Trades Union, United Auto Workers, and lately, Governor Cuomo has endorsed me along with Congressman Higgins, which I'm honored and humbled by. Now, again, I mentioned I'm a newcomer, but I'm not new to leadership, and I'm not new to working together and being respectful to people when you work together. I also understand that at times we're going to disagree. I'm going to disagree with my fellow council members and the mayor, but I'm going to do so where it doesn't impede the progress of our city. We need to improve the quality of life in our city. We need to eliminate the blight that's been there for years. Improve the infrastructure. We need greater efficiency in the delivery of services. We need a safe environment for our children, our seniors, and all members of our city. And I too support all our community organizations and was dismayed by the fact that the block clubs, beautification committees, New Jerusalem, and such were cut last year. Now, how do we grow our city? Through economic development. We need to grow our tax base. It's something we've ignored for too long. We also have to grow our tax base through affordable housing. And we have to go after good paying jobs. Not minimum wage, but good paying jobs. Minimum of $35,000 at least for an average salary. Now, we have to tap into focus on our strengths, which include the auto industry, for example, and take advantage of cross-border truck traffic to construct warehouse and transportation services. We need to secure low-cost electricity from the New York Power Authority, something that has been done in years. And of course, again, let's make sure we understand this. We need to create jobs to make sure that we put people back to work. And because if we put people back to work, it eliminates crime as well. We need to put community before politics. And I'll tell you this, it hasn't been done in this city for years, and that's what I'm going to do. Community is going to come first. Not personal agendas, not obstructionists. That's not going to happen anymore on my watch. We're going to eliminate negative influences.
Mr. Truman, your time's up. Finish your closing remarks, please.
I appreciate that. I'd be honored to receive your vote on Tuesday, November 5th. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Russ Vesci. How's everybody doing tonight, okay? Good. I'd like to say that I wish the room was a little fuller than it actually is. I'd like to see a little bit more young people involved. We're losing that, and I believe it's very important to get people involved. This is the voting process. This is your voice. You need to let your voice be heard. This election is very important. This election will shape our city's future, possibly for the next coming 6 to 8 years. A lot of good things can happen in that time, and maybe some not so good things can happen in that time. It's up to you. My background, again, like most everyone here, I'm a lifelong resident. I've never moved away. I'm 46 years old. I attended local schools, St. Joseph's, Trop Vocational, graduated with a Regents Diploma in electronics. I've been a water board employee for the past 22 years. I'm a former block club president. I'm endorsed by the Republican Party, the Independence Party, the Conservative Party. Local 91 has endorsed me, the United Steelworkers Locals 943400, 01, and 02. I'm also endorsed by the Niagara Orleans Labor Council and AFL-CIO, and just recently got the endorsement of Carl Palladino. So again, I'll be brief. That's my background, and thank you very much.
My name is Charles Walker. I'm also a lifelong resident of the city of Niagara Falls. My wife Linda, 2 children, and we now have a grandson. I have been on the council through 4 terms. I'm running for a 5th term. One thing I've always tried to do, and that is cooperate and work with others. In order to get things done in this city, you have to be able to work together. Too many times we find, especially in the city of Niagara Falls, a lot of times what happens and what stops progress is the fighting and the bickering that go on among our elected officials. I've always tried to be one of those officials who try to work things out behind closed doors. And once I cast my vote, whether it was yes or no, on the next item or the next thing that came up, I would try to work with whoever, that mayor or whoever those council members were. Cooperation is key. I think when you look at the governor's endorsement, I think one of the things that caused him to come out was the fact that he wants to try to do some things in the city of Niagara Falls. When you talk about the Buffalo Billion and the opportunities that Niagara Falls has with some of that money, pretty much the governor is saying, I need to have people in Niagara Falls that's going to work with me, and people in Niagara Falls that get it. People in Niagara Falls that really want to put politics aside, like some of us say, put politics aside and really work together for the better of the people. And that's what's important. And that's what I've always tried to do over the years. I've always supported our volunteer organizations. Our tax base has to grow. How do we grow our tax base? Economic development. Economic development doesn't happen with just Niagara Falls alone. It takes cooperation with state and federal officials. If you don't have that connection, if you don't have that willingness to work with them, then you can't get nothing done. And Niagara Falls cannot survive with the support of the state and federal government. So I think it's important that as you look at this election, as you read some of the mailers that came out, because when I read some of those mailers, I didn't know who they were talking about. Because when you look at some of those cuts that were made to those salaries, I was one of the individuals that put some of those cuts forward. When you read some of the stuff that came out, I honestly didn't know who they were talking about, because I've always tried to do what's best for the city, what's best for the taxpayers, and going forward, I will do the same. You won't see me yelling and screaming at the dais. You'll see me trying to get things done as I have in the past, whether I'm working with Republicans, independents, whoever it is. The thing is, what's best for everybody should be best for you. Because when things happen and it's something that comes out good, if you're a part of it, you look good as well. But if that's not what you are all about, then you can care less whether or not the city moves forward. A vote for Charles Walker means that you definitely have somebody in office that's going to work to try to move the city forward. Thank you.
All right, now we'll move into our quick question round, 30 seconds per question. We'll start, Mr. Fruscione, we'll start with the first question, and then move down the table for each question after that for who gets first response. So first question, let's start off on a bit of a lighter note. Tell us something about yourself that people might not expect, maybe a hidden talent or an interesting hobby.
I've been playing drums since 1973. I still can be viewed on YouTube. That's all I can tell you. You'll never find it. That's it.
Something interesting about me. Actually, most people think I don't filter myself very well, but this is the filtered version of me.
I actually won Fear Factor at Universal Studios, where I had to dance like a ballerina to qualify. I had to stay still for 3 minutes. I was swinging from 40 feet in the air, and I had to toss live squid into my partner's arms in order to win the challenge. I won 4 free tickets to Universal Studios.
Well, I'm an avid Bills fan. I'm glued to the TV when they're on, and I enjoy watching the sport even though they haven't made the playoffs for the last, 12 years or so. But I stand by my team no matter what. I enjoy watching them. We just need to make sure that, hopefully we're putting a good team together and assembling a good team to move the Bills to a Super Bowl. So, that's me.
Besides the fact that I used to have great hair and I no longer do, well, I no longer have any hair. In the 4th grade at St. Joe's, we had a contest for Thanksgiving to see how many words you could make out of the 2 words Thanksgiving. And I won 2 little turkeys, candles that I still have because I came up with, I think it was 1,106 or 1,107 words out of Thanksgiving. Everybody has a special talent, that's mine.
I guess one of the things I do is I love to bake, and when I can find some time, I make a mean red velvet cake.
Excuse me, Charlie, you have to leave your mic on because yours is decided there. You turn it off, you can't hear now. You do that on purpose.
All right, second round of questions. We'll start with Ms. Grandinetti and come back around the table.
How much time?
30 seconds per person. Niagara Falls is well known for the number of family members who work together in the city government system. To which city employees are you related, and how will that affect your role as a city council member?
I think I'm related to any city employees, actually.
I believe I'm also not related to any city council or city workers.
I'm not related either, although I was a city worker. When I first went to college, I worked at the golf course for at least 5 years. So that was an honor, but I'm not related to anybody either.
I'm not related to anyone employed by the city, and I have no family members that are seeking any employment through the city, so.
I have one. I have a nephew that was just hired about a year ago on the Niagara Falls Fire Department. How will that affect me going forward? It will affect how I vote at all. We'll vote consistently as I have in the past. I think the fire department does a great job, and in the past I've always supported what they've done. So having a nephew on the fire department wouldn't change how I would do things at all.
None.
Love Canal has been in the news recently. Would you be comfortable living in a house in the former Love Canal site? And this question starts with Mr. Sandonato.
Born and raised on 91st Street, so I'm here now.
Born and raised on Cuba Island, very close to Love Canal. I was a young man during the whole process. I followed it pretty closely with my family, and I feel that I visited the families over in that area who have rebuilt and live over there. They feel quite content, and I feel quite content that things are capped and secure. And I would definitely, certainly move there. I feel it's safe, and it's a safe environment for my family.
Seeing that so many of the areas of town that we're finding out have contamination, it's somewhat of almost a moot point. I know a lot of people that live in the Love Canal area, and they are comfortable. They're doing just fine. I haven't seen any problems. For me personally, I have no desire to live there. Working for the water board and working on some of the sewer lines that are over there, I have seen some of what's in there, and I have no desire to live there.
I personally can't really say. I think as you look at the Love Canal area, most of it has been cleaned up. And if the state says everything is taken care of and it's clean, I wouldn't have a problem with staying there. But I grew up in the Highland Avenue area, and later moved to Ontario Avenue, is where I grew up.
Actually, I could tell you a lot. I'm going to tell you a lot about 93rd Street School. I attended there in the 1970s as a kid, and we were the class that discovered that if you balled up this stuff and let it dry up overnight, and you threw it against the concrete, it would ignite in flames. So the next day when we discovered this as kids, they covered the entire playground with a tarp, because all the stuff from the Blue Tip Match Company was seeping up through the ground, and we were ingesting it as kids. They say they cleaned it up. They didn't clean it up. I actually walk over to 93rd Street School all the time. The cornerstone from the building still exists. There's supposed to be a 2-foot level of dirt above that. There's over 20,000 tons of arsenic still buried in that ground. So no, it's not safe. I would never live there. It's definitely, I've seen a lot of stuff. I swam in black pools as a kid in 93rd School that was filled with contamination. They'd pull us out of the pools. No, it's definitely not safe right there at all.
I believe there's probably many areas in this city that have contamination issues, primarily because we were such an industrial town. I probably would give it a second thought before I moved out to that area, but that's mostly because it doesn't suit my lifestyle. I like to live in a walking neighborhood. I like to be, I prefer a downtown area where I can get all my needs met without jumping into my car. So it isn't, it's more of a personal preference than anything else, but I think we'd be hard pressed to say that everything was completely cleaned up out there because of all the other issues throughout the city.
When we solicited questions from the general public, a lot of people wanted to ask about crime. This will start with Mr. Vesci, by the way. How worried are you about crime in Niagara Falls? Would you be comfortable walking around at night in your city?
Absolutely not. We see an escalation in crime. We've seen in the recent weeks armed robberies, all right, at Mike's Dairy Queen, at 7-Elevens, Frenchie's. Again, it's not only on that side of town. Cleveland Avenue, shootings. Within the past months, about 6-8 months, a 2-year-old little girl shot in the face, in her car. Okay? These are not just isolated, a few people doing this. These are scary times out on the streets. The city is overspending by millions and millions of dollars on frivolity. I believe that first and foremost, our citizens need to feel safe. Why is it that you can go down to Lewiston?
Try and limit our answers to 30 seconds.
Okay, sorry. No, our city is not safe, and that would be a definite priority of mine.
Yeah, crime in the city of Niagara Falls have increased. We do have to do more. We do have to do more. Growing up in the city, will I walk the streets at night? I do. I do walk my community. I live on 16th and South Avenue, and I do walk at night. But I do agree that there are some major concerns. When you have poverty and issues like that, you have crime, and so that is something we definitely have to address going forward.
Personally, I think crime is a serious problem in Niagara Falls. There's a lot of crime. I was actually a victim of crime in 2009 as council chairman. We passed an appropriation of $100,000 to give to the police department. The very next night, it's actually the Gazette, my building was shot up and broken into over on 19th Street. And the people came out that actually did it to me, asked me, "Are you the councilman that's anti-crime?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "Well, we're the guys that did this." It was a big problem for me. There's a lot of problems here in the city of Niagara Falls. Crime definitely being one of the largest. Perception of crime is also a big problem here because a lot of tourists come here and they read about it and it's continuous. So yes, crime is a problem. As chairman and as a councilman, I will continue to fund to fight crime.
I have to say, to be honest with you, I grew up in downtown Niagara Falls and I do walk freely on the streets at night and during the day. I do think crime is an issue here, but I think most of that is because of the situations with poverty and unemployment. Can we improve? Absolutely, always. But I do take into consideration when I am walking at night that I need to be responsible and be careful, but I don't think twice about walking around in the city.
Crime is an issue in the city. I was also a victim of a crime. 2007, I think it was. I was assaulted. Ended my football career at the University of St. John Fisher College. Currently, you have a 1 in 16 chance of being a victim of a property crime in the city of Niagara Falls. You have a 1 in 86 chance of being a victim of a violent crime in Niagara Falls. And we can't expect young families and people to move into this city if we don't address crime and economic growth.
This one really gets me because crime's a problem everywhere. It spares no one. Yet we want to put fear in people and say that Niagara Falls obviously is an unsafe place. You know what? According to the Operation Impact data, rape is down 16.1% in Niagara Falls. Robbery is down 1.7%. And facts don't lie, folks. Burglary is down 11.8% in Niagara Falls, and motor vehicle theft is down 18.4%. So yes, we have our problems, of course, and they need to be addressed. But I can tell you this, we need solutions to the problems. Not to say something's unsafe. We need to make sure we have programs in place to make sure that we take the criminals off the streets. And we have problems with the system as well. We have people who are convicted.
Can you please try to limit your response to 30 seconds?
Yep, we have people that are convicted, but they don't go to jail for long enough. They're back on the streets. So we have a lot of work to do.
All right, we'll start with Mr. Walker on this one. Robert Moses Parkway is a complicated issue, but in 30 seconds, can you tell us whether you would be in favor of having it removed, altered, or left as is?
I'm in favor of having it removed. I think we've been dealing with this for some time now, and so I think this is an issue that the residents have spoken. I think the state should come in and do what needs to be done. So I'm in favor of having it removed.
I'm on record for being in favor of removing it definitely from Finley Drive to the end of Main Street to downtown Niagara Falls. The other section, we should actually take into consideration the homeowners there and work with them to see what they want to have done in their section of town. But overall, it should be definitely removed in the business section that parallels Main Street.
I'm in favor of removal.
I'm in favor of alterations as long as there's a tax cut for property owners and business owners in that area, or actually citywide. I think it can reach its full potential if we encourage homeowners and business growth there, but it's going to be immediately the most valuable piece of property in the city of Niagara Falls, and with our high taxes and low population, it would be awfully difficult to develop it without any second step with it.
I'm in favor of the removal as well, as long as there's a plan in place and there's an economic resource to fund it. We need to make sure that the power authority's on board, and we should rely on them to fund a lot of this development. But we have to have a plan. We have to make sure that we know what the impact it's going to have on DeVoe. And I certainly wouldn't like Mr. Frashone said, I certainly wouldn't close the from Finley to Lewiston. I would keep that open. But we've been waiting this for a long time, having access to our water. We need to make sure that we utilize that area.
I'm definitely in favor of removal, at least from Finley Drive through to Main Street. I'd like to see more traffic funneled to the Main Street business area. Maybe try to pick up, business that way through Main Street and promote some development. But again, I'd like to see it at no cost to the city. I would like to see the Power Authority pick up the tab for this. So that is definitely something I would be in favor of. And again, I'd like to see an impact study towards the neighborhoods, how that's going to affect any neighborhoods, any traffic flow. So, thank you.
All right, final question. I think, Mr. Toomey, did I skip over you when we were starting first?
You did, sir.
All right, so you'll start first for this one. There's been recent conversation about how the Greenway funds are being used for sports facilities in both Niagara Falls and Lewiston. Do you think this is an appropriate use of funds? If not, how should they be used?
Well, it's a good question. Obviously, we're fortunate to have the Greenway funds, and I'm not sure necessarily if having utilizing them with sports facilities is the best way to go. We need to make sure that we're involving the public in the process, make sure that we're asking them how they think we should be using it. And I'm an environmentalist, so that's something that's important to me, to use those Greenway funds appropriately and improve the quality of life for all the residents in the city.
I would have to agree. It's definitely beneficial to have those Greenway funds, but again, used properly. I wouldn't want to see any of the natural environment destroyed just for the sake of putting in any sports facilities. And it does have to benefit the neighborhoods that these things are going into. So it has to be considered very carefully, but I am happy to see those funds here.
Yeah, that is a very gray area when it comes to the legislation of what Greenway funds are supposed to be used for. But I feel that those Greenway funds should be used for better access to our waterways and things like that. We're talking about creating a product, and that was the reason for the Greenway funds, so that we can create a product here in Western New York when it comes to our waterways.
Actually, the Greenway funds that are being used currently right now for sports facilities is not even under the jurisdiction of the Niagara Falls City Council. The real truth is under the jurisdiction of the Niagara Falls Board of Education. So really this question we can't even answer. All we can hope is that the Board of Education is just going through the proper steps and processes to make sure they're using money accordingly. Within the city of Niagara Falls, the Greenway funds we have used have strictly been used for parks on the waterfront. LaSalle Waterfront Park was named, when I was in the city council and completed, when the three of us sitting here has been on the council as well. So yes, we use it properly, but it's under the jurisdiction for sports facilities, the Board of Education.
I have to agree with Mr. Frashone, and I'm very disappointed to see that the money is being used for sports complexes. We live in a place where we're surrounded by water, and we should be capitalizing on that. But again, as he said, that is not our jurisdiction, and we do use our Greenway money properly.
As a legislator, I tried to fight desperately for Greenway money to come to the LaSalle area. I think there's definitely use for the Greenway money in our parks, in our areas to the waterfront. I would actually love to see Huga Island, Little River area trimmed up, cleaned up, so you can actually see across the river.
All right, we'll start with our longer response questions. We'll have 6 questions. The first person will have 2 minutes to respond, and their 2, we'll call them teammates, will have 1 minute to respond to their response. So we'll start, the first 3 people sitting next to me, Mr. Frashone, Ms. Grandinetti, and Mr. Sandinato. So we'll start with Mr. Frashone. You'll have 2 minutes, and then the next 2 people will have 1 minute to respond. Recent editorial in the Buffalo News concerning development in Niagara Falls was pretty blunt. It reads, "There can be no other city in the developed world with as much squandered potential as Niagara Falls. Hardly a soul around the world isn't familiar with the name, yet through a combination of corruption and incompetence, the city provides little for tourists to do after viewing the falls, effectively encouraging them to leave." Do you agree or disagree with this? And how would you propose that we fix this?
Yeah, actually, I own a small business right on Fall Street here in the city of Niagara Falls. I'm actually the only elected official in the city of Niagara Falls that actually owns a business that's in the tourist district. We're located maybe 100 feet from the state park entrance. I agree with them 100% because I sit out there day in, day out for the entire summer talking to tourists all day long. I know firsthand what the issues are and what the concerns are. The concerns are is too much property is being held hostage downtown Niagara Falls and no one can rent it. It's obvious directly across the street from me in this downtown area, there was 5 or 6 vacant storefronts that have been vacant for 5 years now, and no one wants to even push anyone. I tried to push them one time, I was shot down. As Minister Farrakhan would say, the unseen hand revealed itself and then came after me. I do watch a lot of Farrakhan, I'll tell you that much too. And that's the problem here. The city of Niagara Falls does not follow through on anything in regards to code enforcement and enforcement of the rules for everyone equally. I'm invested, I pay property, I pay rent, and I pay sales tax in downtown Niagara Falls.
I think we've been very slow to the draw to correct some of the problems that we have here in the city. We have been in a state of disrepair for about 40 years. I think we've made some good choices and done some good things in the last few years. However, echoing again, Mr. Frashone, Main Street is held hostage, so are many areas in the downtown area by speculators and developers that have no intention to do anything to move the city forward. So do I think we could do better? Absolutely. Do I think we're on the right path? Yes, I do. I think things have improved downtown. I think we're taking into consideration families and travelers, but we can do so very much more.
I believe we need to start doing smart growth in the city, pairing up businesses with like businesses. For example, capitalizing off of the growth of the Niagara Falls, the Rapids Theater to encourage business on Main Street. Open up downtown with more family attractions and destinations. Building bridges from one end of the city to the other end of the city to influence commerce to come from each end of the city. Manufacturing is 18% of the GDP in America right now. There's no reason why manufacturing has to be dead. We have brownfields all along the waterfront, all along Buffalo Avenue. We have a brownfield grant writer in the county that is actually one of the best grant writers who secures a lot of money for brownfields. It's time we tap into that. Manufacturing in specifics would be like agriculture manufacturing. 77% of the upstate economy deals with agriculture. And then you take in the residing, the neighboring businesses or counter states and stuff like that, like Ohio, Pennsylvania, and whatnot. You have a tremendous agricultural business. And essentially we need to lower our taxes to encourage business growth.
All right, the next grouping will start with Mr. Frashone, and then Mr. Vesey and Walker will have.
Mr. Tuma.
Now, Mr.
Sorry, Mr. Tuma. You'll have 2 minutes, and Mr. Vesey and Mr. Walker will have 1 minute to respond. I seem to be really good at skipping. The 2010 Business Week expose chronicles the downfall of Niagara Falls over the last 40 years and points its fingers largely at a cycle of grand ideas that will fix everything. Everything from the indoor arboretum to the demolition of the old business district. Do you think that that's a cycle that we can escape, or do you think the next grand idea will save us?
Well, it's certainly a cycle we're going to try to escape from, but it's not going to be easy. But again, my family had a business on Fall Street for 53 years. When urban renewal came, it changed everything. So I've heard through generations what that looks like and what a successful business looks like. But I also know it only takes a few people that really don't have the same vision or the inability to work together to destroy a place in a matter of years. And so when you destroy a place in a matter of years, it takes time to rebuild. But unfortunately, we've had folks in place that have had their own personal agendas, unable to work with city leaders in all levels of government. And because of that, we haven't developed the right relationships. We haven't, so one or two people have a great idea and a great vision, but somebody else is going in a different direction through negative influences. So the key is, obviously, for progress, is to work together, to disagree, but do it respectfully, to reach out to developers, to reach out to all levels of government. And you know what? These land speculators, That doesn't have to be. I mean, we haven't reached out to them and developed the relationships we need with them, and we haven't given them the development that's going to actually entice them to sell their property. We have to aggressively pursue it, go after the change, and work with everybody in order to do it. Thank you.
Again, this is a decades-old problem going back to urban renewal. The bad thing is, I believe so many in our city are so desperate for anything to take place. You wish you had the magic wand that you could wave and just make it all better. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen, but I do feel that we can definitely escape the cycle of what's been going on. For far too long, we've seen it. We all know it. There are far too many outside influences in Niagara Falls. This has become a handout city. You come here, if you're any type of developer at all, you come here, you're a handout, we'll fork over millions to you. All these projects that have never flown, the Aqua Falls. Okay? I mean, we don't hear that. How many people remember that? The Aqua Fails. All right, the 40-foot hole in the ground. I mean, those things are indicative of what this city has become. So do I think we can escape that process? Yes, I do. We have to be far more careful with city taxpayer dollars. We have to be far more careful with the investments that we are looking into, and we have to have a return on investment policy. There was never that return on investment. So these are things that I definitely feel we can escape. We can turn it around, but it's going to take a very long time.
I also feel these are things that we can escape, and I think we already begun that process. And I think the Culinary Institute downtown is something that we can look at as saying, okay, we can add to that, the Hammerster project. So we can add to that. So I think we're beginning to take those steps where we're looking more at the smaller development instead of that big old one thing that's going to solve all our problems. These things, working together, collaborating, again, like I said, with state, federal officials, county officials, we can begin that process. But it's like I said, it's going to take time, but we're moving in the right direction. And so I do think we can escape that cycle, and I think we're in the process of doing that.
All right, back to the first team. Ms. Grandinetti, we'll start with you. The Live Niagara Falls initiative offers student loan repayment for 2 years to attract recent college grads to live in certain areas of Niagara Falls. Do you support such initiatives to draw in outside people? Is that an appropriate way to draw in people?
Actually, I do support that 100% and have from the very beginning. I feel that we need to become creative to attract a different demographic to the city of Niagara Falls that we've been lacking for so long. The downtown area, starting again with the Culinary Institute and some of the development that we have going on 3rd Street, is conducive to a younger lifestyle. And I think we make it more appealing to young professionals. I believe that it will help us to redevelop a whole new demographic. As I said, we haven't had the youth of America the youth of Western New York interested in living in the downtown Niagara Falls area since I was a kid, since we knocked everything down on Fall Street and started to suburbanize as opposed to urbanize. So I do support programs like that, and I think it's a little bit out of the ordinary, but I feel that it's creative. And I think that, is it good for the whole city? No, it's not. I think we need to target areas where we do those kinds of things and try to be more creative about attracting people to come to the area. What's going to work for one group of people may not necessarily work for another group of people. There may be young people that want to live here, but then in another neighborhood we may want to be able to sell off some houses and encourage people to redevelop those houses. There's all kinds of different things. It doesn't have to be one solution. We have to think outside the box, we have to be creative, and we have to encourage all kinds of people to come and live and work here in Niagara Falls.
I support it as long as it's in conjunction with other things. It can't be our only effort to attract young professionals in this area. Ms. Grandinetti talked about reaching out to the young professionals. Well, there's 50,000 at a 25-mile radius looking to come back to a home somewhere. The only way to attract them back here would be to offer them a job. And if they're looking to settle down and start their career, they're going to go where the money is. And we have to go back into the universities and the colleges, figure out what they're graduating with, what their interests are, and market ourselves to that interest. And approach them, get them back into our city, and allow them to take root in the city of Niagara Falls. Build our neighborhoods, build our middle class from the inside out. So a one-shot deal of student housing after you graduate, it's good, but it can't be our only initiative.
When it comes to live in Niagara Falls, it's a pretty good idea, but here's my big concern. I have a 19-year-old daughter. Paying back her student loan is not going to entice her to live in Niagara Falls. Her biggest complaint to me is, Dad, when I graduate from college, I'm barely making any money. Where can I live that the rent's affordable, but it's not scary to live in that section of town? Because she's a young lady. So the real issue is here, we have to clean up the city and eliminate crime so you can have these young people move into the community, feel safe, because they're young, it's new to them. They're college students, they want to move forward, they want to stay here. A lot of people will actually, move into the city if that's true. But to reimburse them for their student loans, to me, I think we have to be very cautious with that because some people are very crafty and they may just use us and just take the money and run.
All right, next group, we'll start with Mr. Vesci. You'll have 2 minutes, and then Mr. Walker and Mr. Tumo will have 1 minute to respond. The population of Niagara Falls has dropped approximately in half over the last 50 years, or the last 40 years rather. To what extent do you think we should be concerned with trying to grow that population versus serving the current population? And if your answer is that we need to attract and grow the population, who should we be trying to attract? Local people, people from far away, entrepreneurs, skilled laborers, college grads, developers, young people, old people, somebody else that's not on my list?
In response to that, all of the above. I don't believe you can single out any one demographic of people and say we're only going to target them. A community is old and young and black and white and everything in between. Again, how are we going to get people to want to stay here, want to live here? These one-shot ideas are not, I don't want to say non-productive, but they are not all-encompassing. Let me ask this question. I'll answer the question with a question. Why do people, so many people probably in this room, why do people all say, you know what, I can't wait to get money, I want to move to Lewiston? Lewiston doesn't have a thriving downtown. Lewiston doesn't have a casino. Lewiston doesn't have high-rise hotels, okay? Why do people want to move to Lewiston? Because it's safe, because it's clean, because it's well kept, because everybody in that community knows everybody else, and they can rely on each other. It's that type of homey community. You have to make people feel safe. That's what you pay taxes for safety and services. All right? For far too long, we have been lining the pockets of millionaires with other millions, yours and my tax dollars. This is non-productive to attracting people to want to relocate here, live here, stay here. We've seen what it has done. We have to stop spending money in the wrong areas. We have to start focusing on serving the people that are here. When you make a community safe, when you make a community clean, when you have well-kept roads, well-maintained sidewalks, good lighting, good services, a well-run system, people will come back here. You won't have to work so hard to attract them. They'll come back.
Well, I think the answer pretty much is we do have to work to grow our population. Sure, we have to serve the population that we have now. But in order for this, in order to continue to grow this population, we have to begin that process of creating jobs. Creating jobs is the key. And we should be trying to attract everyone, all people to the city. But the important thing is, again, as I said, we got to create jobs. And in order to create jobs, we have to continue to work with, with other people to make that happen. When you talk about a $25 million investment where the city may put $1 million in, they do that all over the country, especially when you're trying to incentivize economic development. So when the state comes in and say, we're going to help you out, we're going to give this amount, the city should be looking to do something in order to show that we're working and we're trying to rebuild this city and grow this tax base. As those jobs come, you also look at the fact you're looking at sales tax increases and other things like that. So I think there's a lot of things we have to look at, but I do feel we must grow this population.
Well, I also believe we can grow the population. But you know, folks, we got to change the image of our city first. The leadership in our city is the heart of the city. And our image is terrible outside this city. So we got to change the image by having the right leadership. It begins with the leadership. And you know what? Norma's not the only one that's positive. This is my home, Niagara Falls. I like to visit Lewiston, but I love to live in Niagara Falls. And I can tell you this, this is the place we need to clean up. This is the place we need to revitalize. And we have to do it with right leadership and making sure that we eliminate the negative image that our city has. Now, here's the other thing. I walked for months in the city, and I had a friend that came in from out of town that did walk with me. He said, holy cow, this is great. This city is fantastic. How come nobody knows about it? We need to get the word out and let people know. Niagara Falls is a jewel. So if you know, if you have any friends, tell them, come back to Niagara Falls. It's moving in the right direction, okay?
All right, the final question for this first group, Mr. Sandonato, you'll go first, and then Mr. Frashone and Ms. Grandinetti will jump in to respond. You haven't addressed education yet. Business First recently ranked Niagara Falls 92nd out of 97 Western New York districts based on test scores. How much do these rankings worry you? Are they indicative of the school system as a whole?
That's a question.
Yeah.
Of course this worries me. We're a community that needs to grow, and to attract people back to our community, you need to have a good education system. It's one of the top things people look to when they buy a house in a region. The best thing we can do as a community is provide our kids with jobs. We go back into the universities, we look at them, we bring back the young professionals in the community, and we start to grow our population. If it's more affordable to be on the streets, to quit school, to not pursue a college degree, than it is to stay in school and actually find a job later on, then the choice is easy for a lot of kids. They're going to drop out and find means for other ways. We need to bring back the attention back to our kids. Our young, middle-aged kids who are looking to settle a family, that's our future. We do that, we target our younger children, our younger generation. We look at their success, and we need to keep them in the community. We need to keep them interested. We need to have community projects. We need to have community events. We need a sense of pride in our neighborhoods again. We need a little more energy in our city to say, hey, look at us. We're here. We want to stay here. So should you. And I think that's the biggest thing that a city councilman can do. I can't control the school board. I can't control the school budget. But I will look out for the best interests of the community, and I will look out for the best interests of our future generation.
I'm an educator in the city of Niagara Falls. I live and work where I teach. I probably teach at one of the lowest income per child schools in the city. I will proudly tell you that the people that I work with are very hardworking and diligent, and that despite the fact that over 80% of the children in my school live below the poverty level, and despite the fact that many of them face lifestyles that you would be horrified by, our school had some of the best scores in the county. And I will also tell you that, yes, I agree. I know that I have my own friends that have moved away because the schools weren't what they expected them to be or what they hope they are to be. But we have so much to do. Let's start where we should start, and that's with development. Once we get things going in the city, then of course people are going to move back into the city. But as far as I'm concerned, I really take offense to anyone that says that our teaching staff is not working hard and doing their best with what they have.
Actually, we both work at the exact same school, so my response would be the exact same. I've been there for 22 years, spent thousands of dollars assisting the children with everything they need, from clothing to food. We definitely understand their needs, and it's a big problem. The education is not a big problem because everybody's busting their butts working hard every day. There's nobody just fooling around the classroom. We're really working hard. But the children have difficult lives, and we're working with them to improve their lives. So to ask this question first, finally, it's not even the jurisdiction, once again, of the Niagara Falls City Council to answer this question. So yeah, of course, I've been looking out for children for 22 years, and I'll continue to until I die. That's the end of that answer.
All right, final question. We'll start with Mr. Walker, and then Mr. Toomey and Mr. Vesey will have 1 minute each to respond. The last 48 years of educational research has consistently found that non-school factors, for example, poverty, health, housing, family, etc., affect test scores and performance in schools far more than do the conditions inside schools. The recent initiative of the Obama administration is to form promise neighborhoods, which combine social services with school systems. Buffalo was one of the first 4 grantees in the nation to get a multi-million-dollar grant to do this. Would you support a similar initiative in Niagara Falls to form a promise neighborhood, or if not, do you have some other idea for how to combine social services and education?
I would definitely support an initiative such as that here in the city of Niagara Falls. One thing about the city of Niagara Falls, I think Niagara Falls has a lot of resources. I think part of what we have to do more to try to educate people and connect them to those resources. So I would definitely be in full support of an initiative such as the Promise Neighborhoods.
I also support the Promise Neighborhoods. Now, I'm an educator as well, both in teaching and also administrative. And I got to tell you, one of the mistakes we've made, I think, is moving our students out of the neighborhood and eliminating neighborhood schools. It's been a serious problem, and if we would just address the resources and made sure that those areas, those schools had the resources, I think that would have been probably better for all those students, taking pride in their neighborhoods, taking pride in their businesses. And I think that's been an issue. And you know what? The quality of life of our students is paramount. And they come to school hungry, they come to school angry, they come to school without any sleep. And we need to address all those issues. And it's amazing what we do with the conditions some of our children come from. So yes, I believe in our students, and I believe in Promise Neighborhoods as well.
I would have to agree. I would definitely support the Promise Initiative. Again, we have wonderful teachers. I'm not an educator, but I know many teachers. We have wonderful teachers in the Niagara Falls school system who are trying their very best. These people are genuinely concerned about these children, and I do believe that at-home factors, outlying factors, have such a large impact, far more than what goes on in the classroom. Children spend only, maybe a third of the day, if that, in a classroom. So that the rest of that time, they're influenced by outside influences. If those influences at home or about aren't good, it's going to reflect in these children, and I mean they're at risk. It's a very dangerous thing. So I would definitely be in support of anything that will make life better for these children.
All right, we'll start concluding statements in just a minute. Mr. Walker, you go first. Every person will have 3 minutes. We've been at this for almost an hour, and yet we seem to have barely touched on tourism, crime, development, housing, taxes, image, or the made of the mist. So we could go on for 2 more hours and barely address those, I'm sure. So in 3 minutes, tell us what we need to know about those issues, or anything we didn't address, or anything that you want to reiterate that you said before. Mr. Walker, 3 minutes, the floor is yours.
Well, I think we definitely need to build up our tourism market, but I think more importantly, we have to create more of a product. We have the falls, but we have other things as well. We have great history in this city. We need to do more development around our history and create those walking tours and things like that, especially around the Underground Railroad. I mean, it's $1 billion a year industry, and we have an opportunity to create a product of such here in the city of Niagara Falls. But we have to be willing to invest. We have to be willing to get out there and do what needs to be done. I'm running for re-election because I believe that, I have the ability to work with others. I believe I have vision for this city, and I want to continue to work toward moving this city forward. I'm thankful for the opportunity to serve the city of Niagara Falls for as long as I have, but I feel the city has so much potential, and it's disheartening, when to see that it's not moving as forward as like you think it should. But I think one of the things we must look at during this election, and it's very important, is that we don't get caught up in all the the negative press and all the stuff they're putting out there, those untruths. I think you need to really find out who these candidates are, what they're really all about. And if you find that in me, I'm not your choice, I can accept that if it's based upon the facts, not based upon some of that material that's out there. But I will say that if you do choose me as your council member again, you won't be disappointed, and I think the city will be well served. Thank you.
Again, you know, the problems that we face in the city have been this way for so long, and this is why I got involved. I've never had aspirations to get into politics. I'm a first-time political candidate. I got involved because I hate what has been done to my city. I grew up here, and so many of the places that when I grew up I used to hang around and hang out with my friends, most of my friends are gone. I'll be honest, I don't have anybody really that I hang out with anymore. I go to work, I go home. So many people that I grew up with had to leave for work, for just reasons of they got tired too of how the city is. And I don't mean to be negative. I want to move the city in that positive direction, and this is my motivation. Seeing the negativity, seeing how bad things have gotten. We've had so much irresponsible government in recent decades that it's kind of running into the ground now. I think that we need to choose leaders for our city who are a little smarter, who are a little more conscious of the kind of heartbeat of the city, of what's going on. Again, I've worked on every street, on every alleyway in this city in 22 years. I don't believe there's anyone in this room that probably knows this city better than I do. I can tell you where the potholes are. I can tell you everything that's going on in the city. So I've seen it firsthand. You know, sometimes it seems like we're trying to build the house from the roof down. You have to start with a solid foundation. And again, I believe that there have been tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars wasted in the wrong areas. We are not doing the taxpayers of this city a justice. You pay for goods and services. I walked all through LaSalle. I walked through the whole city. But just walking through LaSalle, there are sidewalks that are impassable. In LaSalle, I had to walk in the street. There are children trying to play on those sidewalks, forced to go in the street. These are things that you pay for. I mean, again, I want to see development downtown, but it has to be developing our city, not just downtown. It's not going to be that one cure-all, the one building that goes up, or knocking down the Winter Garden to make the old Fall Street. I mean, did that save the city? No. Again, you know, it has to be an all-encompassing effort to move the entire city, not just one area forward, the entire city forward. But we have to look at the basics. What are the basics? Taking care of our residents, taking care of our neighborhoods, building our neighborhoods back up, ridding the city of the blight, of the crime, of the filth. When that happens, things will thrive. We won't have to try so hard to attract any developer that just wants to come along. Thank you.
First of all, let me thank Corey for moderating today, and the block clubs, obviously, for putting this together, Norma, and you know, everybody else. Look, the council, here's the thing. I'm looking for your vote November 5th, and here's why. To be a councilman, you have a lot of responsibilities. And in order to achieve success in the city, you need somebody with leadership abilities and the ability to make sound decisions. You know, the council, it didn't come up tonight, but the council members vote on day-to-day operations every other week, day-to-day for this city. So you have to make sure you share a vision. Doesn't mean you agree with everything, but you have to share a vision. You have to make sure that you're, the other thing is I think you should be able to submit agenda items. I mean, you have, from what I've known, a lot of folks don't submit agenda items, and where you come up with your own ideas to move things forward. I got to tell you, it would be an honor to sit on the council because it's an honor to live in the city. I'm a person that's, again, been working for 20 years with the public. I understand the needs, and I understand the concerns. I want to be a voice for all the residents. And somebody that I can go to where people will trust me that I'm going to make sound decisions for them. And also, I want to be a person who is a voice for people's ideas and their concerns. People in the city don't trust their leadership. People outside the city feel that the leadership in the city is not moving forward quickly enough. So what I'm asking you tonight is this. We have $19 million per year that comes in from the casino dollars. We have to spend that money correctly. And you know what? I know it's earmarked for certain things, but the council and the mayor, they didn't set that agenda. That was set by somebody else. I think we need to go back to the table and use that money to take down the blight in the city and to lift the city up. So on November 5th, I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking for your support to move the city forward because I share a vision. And with, I believe, the residents, I share a vision with other council members who want to move the city forward. Thank you.
I think if you ultimately take my campaign and boil it down, the message I would like for everyone to be aware of is that the whole focus is taking issues and moving them to the solution side. That's the goal. That is the absolute goal of this campaign. For far too long, we let the issues linger, we don't address them, and they sit back on the back burner. That can't happen anymore. The residents, business owners, the tourists, they deserve answers. They deserve solutions. I've put forth a platform that addresses all that. If you want to talk about roads, we can talk about crumb rubber, where we use, where they last twice as long as a normal road. It's a recycled road that is the most efficient road in the entire United States. We can talk about crime, where we can work with the federal government and the state governments and provide more programs that reduces the crime, encourages teen involvement, and attacks the problem. If we want to talk about job development, we have to look at how to reduce our budget, how to lower our taxes, and incentivize the workforce. These are the things that we need to tackle. We need to tackle neighborhood revitalization. Let's look at ways that we can market Niagara Falls a little bit better. Let's look at ways that we can improve the housing situation, whether it be through code enforcement, whether it be through special grants or funds or stuff like that. Why don't we look at finding ways to provide solutions to the problems that everybody faces every single day? I want to be the most accessible city council candidate that you've ever had. I want to be the most advocated city council candidate that you've ever had. And I want to provide the leadership that you know, that the community knows, that you will actually get results from. To be on the most productive city council would be absolutely the greatest thing in the entire world. Because finally we can end the political gridlock, we can take off the political gloves, and we can put solutions and ideas on the table. We can actually communicate as a functioning board, as a functioning council, and give the residents the answers to their questions. And that will be my role as a city councilor. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank the Block Club Council and our moderator for this evening. Thank you for inviting me. The first most important thing I'd like you to do is please vote November 5th. No matter what you do, not only commit to yourself that you will vote, but please at least take 2 other people with you to vote. Too many things get decided and too many people think their vote doesn't count, and it does. The other thing that I would like to say to you is it has been an honor and a privilege to serve you for the last 3.5 years, and I'd like the opportunity to do it again. I came to this job with a lot of ideas. Some of them I was able to go carry through on. Others you find out it isn't so easy. But I feel like I'm not done yet, and I would like to continue to serve you, and I'm asking you to give me that opportunity. I think I'm fair, I think I'm decisive, I'm reasonably intelligent, I'm a pretty good relationship builder, and I'm a hard worker. So I'm just asking you for another chance. I think I've got more to offer. Thank you.
I too would like to thank everyone for coming out tonight to the debates. I've served on the Niagara Falls City Council, as I said, for 8 years. I have a proven track record of leadership. I've served as chairman unanimously, except for one time, I was appointed as chairman. One time, actually, Charles Walker voted against himself to appoint me as chairman, so I appreciate that, Mr. Walker. Furthermore, I have a proven track record of being a legislator. See, everything that's been said here tonight, the real truth is that our job is only to legislate, appropriate funds, and balance the budget. The rest of the stuff we really can't do. So I can, and I have, over the past 8 years, written several pieces of legislation. I wrote the legislation that ended the reassessment in 2007, which is unnecessary on some homeowners here in the city of Niagara Falls. Once again, I wrote the landlord licensing ordinance. I wrote the public nuisance ordinance, the sign ordinance, the pedicab ordinance. I've written several ordinances over the years. Yes, the chairman does control the agenda, and Mr. Tuma, yes, the council can put things on the agenda. They're called resolutions or ordinances. The charter specifically says that our job, once again, I'll repeat, is to legislate, appropriate funds, and balance the budget. Other than that, it's just a bunch of promises that can't be kept true. So I'm asking you to vote for me on the conservative and independence lines on November 5th, and I thank you once again for letting me serve for the past 8 years. Thank you.
All right, that will conclude tonight's forum. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you our candidates for all participating. If I didn't ask a question that you wanted to ask, I apologize. Come up and ask the candidates yourself. Thanks to the